Okay, it's not telling me how much. 69 hours and 39 minutes, or 33 minutes, I should say. That's good.
Should be just enough.
Yeah, for a Oscar pick podcast.
Seems about right.
Yeah. Greetings, fellow rewriters. It's that time of the year again. Yes, it is Oscar nominations time. I'm here with my co-host, Lunchbox.
Hello.
And I'm Jester. We're going to tell you what to watch, what to miss. No, we're not. We're going to tell you what is going to be the best picture, best movies, and all that. But in order to be able to enjoy these movies properly and talk about them properly, it sometimes requires a little bit of refreshment. Ah. Yes. Truly the only way to talk about some of the nominations. Before we get started here,
some of them are going to need a bit more of this than others.
Some of those are going to need a little bit more than others. Alas, my little sprite here will not be spiked, as I have work later today, but Lunchbox gets to partake of various libations throughout the show, thereby making his experience that much easier. For me, though, it's just the sad, slow trough and slog through, well, not entirely a slog, but sometimes a slog through the various movies that are up for nominations this year. I'm going to do things from reverse order here. We're using a Fandango Frontrunner sheet if you wish to follow along at home. I'm going to be starting at the bottom, but I'm breaking things up into 4 different categories at a time. So, the first 4 we're going to cover in this segment is Best Sound Mixing, Best Short Film Animated, Best Short Film Live Action, and Best Sound Editing. And let's just get the ball rolling along with Best Sound Editing, which I think most of these you don't need to know what the explanation is, but because sound mixing and sound editing sometimes confuses me, Lunchbox will give us the quick rundown, 5-second rundown, basically, of what sound editing is versus sound mixing, and, So
sound mixing is how loud or soft you want to have each individual element, or when you want it to, how you want it to sound. Basically, if you're creating a laser sound, you want it to be a pew rather than a pew. Sound editing is when you want to have that come in, and basically how you cut it into the film. You want to have the music swell at this point, and James Bond breaks through the wall, and then ba-da-da-da. Exactly right. So that's your editing. Mixing is the relative levels.
Okay. So, with that information, we're going to start off with the best sound editing. And my pick for best sound editing is going to go to my favorite. Well, actually I had 2 favorites in this category, which was Mad Max Fury Road and Star Wars Force Awakens. But I went with Star Wars basically because Star Wars. And because
right, okay.
J.K. Simmons isn't up for this one, so I can't say J.K. Simmons for best sound editing. But I'm sure if he tried his hand at it, he would be kicked butt.
I'm sure he would be excellent at it, yes.
Yes. In fact, they should just make a whole category called the J.K. Simmons category, and every year he can win that award. But I would start with Star Wars basically because I think that it sounded on point every time they kick out a Star Wars movie, which thankfully this one was awesome. It sounds good. But that's, it sounds good. It actually, it sounds how it should and how you would expect it to sound and how you want it to sound. The cues are there. What you want to be there is there. It was almost Mad Max Fury Road for me because freaking the movie was awesome. Explosions and stuff. And I think the timing was great on that. I didn't pick any of the others because, one, I didn't see any of the others, but I'm sure they were fine and all. But when it comes to these sound categories, I always feel like the special effects movies have a slight hand up. That's just how I am.
I think so too. I would agree with that. Although, as I've previously explained to you, sound awards tend to go to sounds that we have heard before, sounds we know. It's why the war movies always win sound awards. It's because we know what gunshots sound like.
Yeah.
We know when we expect to hear them. Spaceships flying around? Yeah, we don't know. You could have made that up out of your head. and you probably did.
I always feel like it has to be convincing. Like
It does, but it's a far more. But making it convincing when it's something that we've heard before is far more difficult, I think, or at least it's perceived that way. Which is why I'm giving it to Mad Max.
Okay. Because
I can see Revenant maybe coming in there, but I really think Mad Max has this one sewn up.
is it just because of the explosions and everything? And
Because
all
of
that?
the explosions and everything, and you've got the car sounds and everything. I mean, really well designed sound.
Yes.
And yeah, I think the attack and everything on this, it was really well done, obviously.
Yeah.
And really sucks you in. So I think, definitely Mad Max on that one.
Okay. I guess then let's move on to best short film live action, and I picked Day One. Basically, I have not seen any of these, and I picked Day One just because it sounded political. Honestly, I picked it because of the premise of it seemed, like, okay, you've got this cross-cultural understanding sort of thing going on, and I guess it seemed like it was most likely to win, just based on that. I almost picked Stutterer because it had this kind of human element to it, for lack of a less pretentious way of putting it. But yeah, it's had a human sounding story, a guy who's great online. In fact, actually, I was so close to picking it if it weren't for the political overtones of Day One, because I was actually interested in watching all of Stutterer, whereas Day One just seemed like the quote unquote safe pick.
Yeah.
And Stutterer is about a guy who has a stutter. He's great online, great with interacting people over, email and such, but in person he's a gibbering mess.
Right.
Which I'd be interested in seeing this movie.
I can relate to that.
It's like, I can relate to that. I'm better online sometimes than I am in person, but I think that this is, quote unquote, it would be a close race if it weren't for the political overtones. What did you pick for best live action short?
Well, pretty much consensus is Shock is going to win it. So I went with Shock just because, like you, of course, most of the shorts a lot of people don't see, but Shock seems to be the consensus of the people that have seen them. So I went with Shock.
Okay. So then we have best short film animated. And there, when I was looking through this category, there's 3 of them that I almost picked out of the 5 that are in there. There's and the reason I narrowed it down to 3 and then ended up going with my pick was World of Tomorrow is there. It's Don Hertzfeldt. For some of you who might recognize him as the guy who did the infamous Rejected cartoons with "My spoon is too big," and probably half of you don't get that, and the other half of you are giggling and wanting to watch the shorts again. And then there's Sanjay's Super Team, which is Pixar's latest short that went before The Good Dinosaur, which means a lot of people probably saw it, and Pixar's usually really good at these kind of things.
Yeah, although they haven't won lately.
They haven't won lately.
Not
but
in this category anyway.
Not in this
short
category.
Film, they haven't won since, For the Birds.
For the
was
Birds.
the last time they won.
But I think it's just probably because they win the major animated one so often that people are just like, well, we gave it to them for this, so we can't give it to them for that. And the other one was a short animated film called Life Without Cosmos, which is about 2 astronauts vying to be this, whatever, the person entered into this space program, done all without speaking. There's no, dialogue in it. Lots of sound effects and lots of low-level comedy. Not low-level, not lowbrow, but just a little bit of funny, tongue-in-cheek slapstick.
More pathos, right?
Maybe pathos, but it was really engaging. I originally watching these because I haven't seen any of them either. I almost ended up watching all of Life Without Cosmos just because it was engaging for an animated film. And Sanjay's Super Team, I watched 30 seconds of, and I was like, okay, typical Pixar fare.
Yeah.
So, and World of Tomorrow, again, same thing. I almost watched it, but I'll make time later for it.
It's a short film. It doesn't take that long.
Yeah, well, I've only got seconds at a time. In fact, let's move on from this category. Me saying my pick is actually going to be We Can't Live Without Cosmos because it looked interesting. It was engaging. It's for a short animated film. It was 15 minutes long, and me trying to rush through reviews and just go along. I watched almost the entirety of this thing before I had realized it. So, What's your pick?
Well, you didn't mention Bear Story.
I didn't because I'm trying to narrow it down to my picks, but Bear Story apparently.
No, Bear Story actually is getting a lot of love from the critics. There's a lot of people saying that that one's going to win, but it's really close with Sanjay. And I'm thinking Sanjay's probably going to take it. You know, I'm pretty close on those two,
Okay.
but I'm going to go ahead and say Sanjay, even though I may regret it later when Bear Story wins. But
Okay.
I'll go ahead and say Sanjay.
We'll play it safe with the Pixar short, see if they pull
Yeah.
out a win after several years' absence. Okay. So, we'll move on to our last category of this little block, and that'll be Best Sound Mixing. And as much as I love Star Wars, I threw this automatically to Mad Max because Mad Max was awesome, and I think all the reasons that you listed off for winning Best Sound Editing is the exact reasons why I picked it for Best Sound Mixing, because all the explosions, gunfire, and various grunts, groans, and whatnot are just...
Right. For all the reasons I mentioned before, Mad Max is going to take it. Yeah.
Okay, so you picked the same thing for the same reason. And yes, there's something about its grittiness and the way it is and the way it looks that just... Yes, okay,
Yeah.
it's not like a war film, but because... Thank God for George Miller and practical effects.
Yeah.
Like, they're all things that you are familiar with sound-wise and expect to hear.
Yeah,
So
and
you-
it sounds like you would expect that to hear. Expect that to sound, rather.
Yeah.
It hears like you would expect it to sound. Yeah, you know, yeah, it really, and it has that visceral feeling. And,
It's exactly what I was going to say.
Fire shooting out, and you just hear that.
You hear that
Woof.
whoosh and the woof of the sound, and you get what
And
you
you're
expect.
there. Yeah.
And you're there. You are transported, maybe not to a galaxy far, far away, sorry, but you were definitely transported to this weird world of Australia. Well, this weird world of Australia, it's been
Yeah,
ravaged by the wastes of time and drought and war and whatnot, but... Alright, so then...
and then there's Mad Max.
And then there's Mad Max. On top of it all, you had Charlize Theron doing an excellent job as Imperator Furiosa.
She was very good. Yeah.
So there you have it for this first category. It's Best Sound Mixing, Best Short Film Animated, Best Short Film Live Action, and Best Sound Editing. So we'll continue this momentarily. Alright, we're back from that short commercial interruption. Okay, there's no commercials and there is no interruptions. It's just continual Oscar coverage, or at least what we think will be the winners.
We'll cut them in later.
Yeah, we'll cut in some commercials later. You'll be hearing about Spam Log and other various sponsors.
Everyone knows it's Log.
There we go. So in our next little block of 4, we've got Best Makeup and Hairstyling, Best Visual Effects, Best Original Song, Best Original Score. So let's start things off with Best Makeup and Hairstyling, which I am giving to Mad Max, because, by golly, I don't know so much about makeup, or sorry, not makeup, but hairstyling. I mean, having Charlize Theron's shaved head and everything with the grease paint and all that is kind of
Right.
cool. And you've got the various levels of shaved headness of the War Boys and all that. But what really would win it over for me is the makeup, because each of the War Boys is distinctly... And War Boys were basically the class of people, so to speak, within the film that were they were the various bald-headed people with the various mutations all throughout their bodies. And what I thought really would win this category for me, and what I think is going to win it, is the fact that it's... You could tell they're all basically the same kind of, I guess you would say, I don't want to say race of person, but basically tribe of people, but they each have their own little things that make them different. And of course there's also like the Immortan Joe with the huge face mask that's gotten parodied left and right. But it's at this point, very memorable, and that is something that at this point we'll call iconic.
Yeah.
And same with Charlize Theron's, famously shaved and car greased up head.
Yeah.
That have also entered into iconicness. Now,
And the dude with the guitar.
And the dude with the guitar. But I almost put that more under special effects. But he did have his own unique makeup and
definitely.
hairstyling that makes him also iconic. And those are the reasons I'm picking this for best makeup and hairstyling, because it just... Yeah, some people are saying, oh, maybe they're Revenant. But, like, throwing a ZZ Top beard on DiCaprio does not, to me, an effects makeup
Right,
make
yeah.
it. It's neat and all because you're kind of aging him up and making him look like a grizzly man, but I think creating a whole tribe of people that you think is and can I not always say identify with, but
Well, but you do kind of.
you do kind of you like say, okay, I can see those people actually existing in a war torn future.
Right.
And to me, it's on the same level, actually, as Lord of the Rings with the various, you've got elves, dwarves, or the men of Rohan, the men of Gondor, and such kind of
Right,
look.
yeah. It really has that kind of sense of not, I mean, not exactly that this is what the war torn future would look like, but it's more of this is the fantasy version of a war torn future, and
Yeah.
it really kind of sets that tone, and it gives you that where you can tell that they're all members of the same tribe, but they're all have their own unique look.
Yeah.
And I think that was great. And there's only 3 nominees in this category, and I think
Yeah.
it makes it fairly easy to break it down to, Mad Max is going to take this. I mean, definitely it should, even if it had more competition in the category. I think definitely should still take it, but Mad Max, clearly.
Mad Max. So let's bump up to one of my favorite categories, which is Best Visual Effects. And this was hard to choose between Mad Max and Star Wars, but ultimately I went with Star Wars because Star Wars. That and as practical as it is, and I love George Miller's practical effects, and I'd almost prefer him to win
Yeah.
for all the time and effort that was put into this movie. But we know that how do I say it? We know that those are real. We know that the cars are real. Maybe not all of because they did use some visual effects, like actual CGI effects. We know that some of it is real, some of it isn't. But there were scenes in Star Wars that surprised me that they weren't done practically, but they were done like the effect resolution, or however you want to put it,
Yeah.
was so well done. And there were practical effects in Star Wars.
There was a lot of practical
there was a
effects,
lot-
more than people thought that there was.
Like,
I could imagine how stunned people were when they saw that BB-8 was real.
And that was the other thing I was going to say. And BB-8 was real, which people didn't realize that until like they heard the first shot and the first teaser of Star Wars Force Awakens. People were like, "Oh, that's kind of cute and cool, I guess." But people were stunned to learn later. Yeah, the BB-8 was like a real practical on-set droid.
Yeah, when at Comic-Con, J.J. Abrams comes out and says, "I want to introduce a friend," and BB-8 comes rolling out, and you can hear. I mean, I'm sure the clip is on YouTube. If
Yeah.
you can hear the audience just goes insane, like realizing for the first time that wasn't a visual effect. It wasn't. It was actually. It's a practical effect.
Yeah.
Like that thing really exists. You can go out and buy one.
Yeah, and that's again, merchandising, but yeah, and that's why I'm giving it there. If for nothing else, for BB-8 alone, for the engineering of that droid, and for the other scenes that, there was that weird tentacle squid thing that didn't look so polished, but there were other scenes with. Like the TIE fighter escape at the beginning of the film, which you've seen on trailers. If you haven't seen the movie yet, you've seen that. I honestly didn't know whether that was a practical effect with like just this giant thing that were swinging around on a set, or whether it was a visual effect. It was done so well. But part of what has marked people's minds with this being a return to form for Star Wars is the fact that they were using practical effects again, and none of this green screen nonsense that Lucas tried to throw at us years ago with the prequels. So I really would prefer Mad Max win, but if for nothing else alone, they'd give it to BB-8. I would. I loved Mad Max, but that's my pick.
Right, and I definitely I can understand why you would go with those two as the ones that you would kind of go with your go-to, and seem perfectly logical. I won't deny that, but Revenant's going to win.
Really?
The Bear. They got a half-hour fight scene with Leonardo DiCaprio fighting a bear.
Yeah.
And
A bear.
The bear wasn't really. He didn't fight a bear.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's.
Yes, he did. They just keep cloning DiCaprio. With each clone, it's kind of like a multiplicity, where each time you make a copy of that copy, it gets a little dumber. That's why. Anyway, sorry. But yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's because it's a real thing, and it wasn't real. And
yeah.
was convincing enough that you thought it was real watching the film. So, I gotta say, Revenant's gonna take it.
Really?
As much as I would love if either Mad Max or Star Wars took it, I think Revenant's gonna take it.
I don't know. I see your point, and double it. No, I see what you're saying, and I understand that there's probably that certain awe if you create something recreate something real in a artificial manner. If you've created like a CG bear that doesn't look like a CG bear,
yeah, then it's going to totally take you out of the film, and you're going to not care about the rest of the movie at all. It has to totally be convincing.
It has to be totally convincing. More convincing than Godzilla in a suit. You have to have.
Whereas, even if BB-8 looks like a visual effect, it doesn't ruin the movie.
That's true. Because my whole, I guess you would say, concept of the universe doesn't fall apart if my realization that BB-8 isn't really there comes into fruition or whatever. It's not like the whole world falls apart if he's not real. But I can see that. I know a number of movies in the past where it's just, it doesn't totally ruin the movie, but it throws you out a little bit because no matter how hard Hollywood tries, it's hard for them to replicate real things in a convincing manner.
Yeah.
Just why I don't, and I still remember when Gollum first came on screen years ago, the effect for Gollum still looks good. And that's because they worked their butts off to make it look real. Look as convincing as you could of like a withered old man hobbit thing.
Yeah.
That wasn't didn't throw you out as like, oh, this is obviously an effect. But every time he comes on screen, even though that was like, gosh, now that's been like 14 years ago, it still looks better and more polished than a lot of things that come out these days. It's probably because they put the heart into it and know, like, this has to look good.
Right.
Because this is like...
This is one of our central characters. It's got to be believable.
Yeah. And it's funny because just looking back as a quick throwaway, you look at the various dragon creatures that oh gosh, why am I forgetting the writers' names? Anyway, Nazgul. The dragons that the Nazgul are riding don't look as good as they did when they first came out. The polish isn't there, but Gollum still looks great. So I can see where a bear brought to real life would look great. So, I don't know. I just hope Star Wars wins. So, then I guess that moves...
Alright, fair enough.
Yeah. Moving along to Best Original Song. Okay. I actually had two picks. I went with Writings on the Wall from Spectre. I almost picked Simple Song number 3 from a movie called Youth, which doesn't seem to be up for anything else. But the song, Simple Song number 3, is operatic. And I listened to a few minutes of it and I was like, oh wow, you know what? I have no idea what they're saying, but it sounds like it could have been from an opera or something from like the 18 or 1700s. It's just had that much weight and gravitas behind it. And it was a good tune. But I'm going with Writings on the Wall because it grew on me. It honestly did. I was like so on it. I was like, okay, a Bond tune, whatever, when I first listened to it. And then I listened to it again before doing the pick, and I was like, you know what? I'll give it to that. And as for the other ones, I listened to all of like 10 seconds to 15 seconds of the other ones, and I was just like, nope. Manta Ray bored me, so did Till It Happens to You. And I listened to like 5 seconds of Earned It from 50 Shades of Grey. And I was like, there's no way the Academy's going to have said, of course they gave one to South Park, so what do I know?
Well, they gave a nomination.
They didn't give it a win, but they gave a nomination to it, but gosh. Yeah, I cannot imagine 50 Shades of Grey walking away with a single award.
3-6 Mafia won.
I know, you always bring that up, but 3-6
Mafia. For It's Hard Out Here for a Pimp.
I almost feel like they
Never discount anything, especially in the sound category. The song category, rather.
the song category. That's true. Okay, so what did you pick? Writings on the Wall from James Bond Spectre. That's fine.
I think Gaga is going to win.
Really?
Yep. That's going to get one award closer to her EGOT. Lady Gaga wins for Till It Happens to You.
Okay.
Yep.
Did you like the song at all, or you just nope? Just you think just because?
I think just because. I mean, I love Gaga, but, I think that it's kind of got that cachet, I guess.
Does it have that Oscar feel?
Yeah, like it's heard out here for a pimp. Kind of got that feeling.
Yeah.
It's, no, I think that it's appealing enough to a wide enough audience that enough people will go, yeah, I dig that tune. Pick that one.
Okay. I guess I remember when the Skyfall song came out for the Skyfall Bond, that I don't know if it won or not, but it was on the radio a whole heck of a lot, which surprised me for a Bond song.
It's Adele.
It's Adele, so that probably shouldn't surprise me then.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Writings on the Wall for me Until It Happens to You for Lunchbox. So, I guess that moves it on to original score, which I, of course, picked Star Wars, because as much as I would have loved to have said Hateful Eight, I totally go back on a review I'd done a while ago for Hateful Eight, which was, I feel like Ennio Morricone was totally wasted. It did not feel like one of his traditional scores. And you can say, oh, he's trying to break outside the box, and you say, no. The other smarter half of you says, no, I reject this. I want it to be a memorable score. It was not a memorable score by any stretch. It was not his best work. Sorry. But yeah, I give it to Star Wars. Return to form. Thank you very much, John Williams. Applauses all around.
Well, I understand what you're saying. You forget how the Academy Awards works. We forgot to nominate you for your best work. We didn't give you the award for your best work.
Oh, yeah.
So we're gonna give you the award for some crummy stuff you did later. Now, I'm not saying that Ennio Morricone's work by any stretch of the imagination or in any film is crummy.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that maybe it's not Good and Bad and the Ugly that he should have won the award for.
Yes.
Should have gotten nominated for at least. And now they're going to make up for it by giving it to him this year.
Gotcha. I've heard this before.
It's the Lifetime Achievement Award.
It's the Lifetime Achievement Award. It's here's your gold watch. We're sorry we screwed up last time. I think the same thing happened with Julianne Moore last year, wasn't it? It was like that she was up for the award and they gave
a lot of people said she did give a great performance in that one. But
people said,
but it was for the cumulative performances before that as well.
And there was like some other time that she'd been up that she should have won for, and I think the general feeling was like they totally should have given it to her for this one year, but then like she was up again finally this year, and they're like, okay, let's give it to her. Like she had a decent performance, and that's all the excuse we need. So I can see that. I know that sometimes the Academy does that with films when they screw up and like they snub or unthinkingly snub something, and it sort of ends up being oh crap, we forgot to nominate that.
Yeah,
kind of look.
Like, oh wait, that person ended up being very important.
Yeah, that person ended up being important, so let's give it to him for something else.
Good and Bad and the Ugly became one of the most iconic scores of all time. Oh, that guy, give him an award.
Yeah, and I could see that. It's just you have two.
Yeah, Morricone's gonna win.
Okay, you have two people up for two icons of Hollywood's film score composing.
Yeah, except that John Williams is the most nominated person in Academy Awards history. I think we can go ahead and give it to Morricone.
Okay, fine. So, okay, there you have it. Best makeup and hairstyling, best visual effects, best original song, and best original score. We'll see how those play out on quote-unquote game day, but those are our picks for those. Alright, moving right along, blah blah, don't know the rest of the words. Okay, yes. Sadly, there are no Muppet movies up for contention in this year's Oscar race, but the next four categories have nothing to do with Muppets, so I don't know why I think Muppets, but Muppets are kind of always on my mind. Anywho, our next four categories are Best Costume Design, Best Production Design, Best Film Editing, and Best Cinematography. So let's start off with best costume design, which for me was a toss-up between Cinderella and Mad Max Fury Road. I know there's always the historical dramas, but I say screw them this year. I'm just going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to give it to... Well, actually, I think I'm like flip-flopping still. I'll give it to Mad Max because, again...
Your limb's going to break out from under you, I swear.
Yeah. Okay, like I had originally, as we were starting to record, I had picked Cinderella, but I'm going to go back on that. I'm going to say Mad Max because I think that technically the mask that he was wearing, that Imperator... not Imperator, that was Furiosa, that Immortan Joe was wearing was considered costuming. And I think in order to world build, you need a decent kind of costuming design, which I think, as we had covered before when we were talking about makeup, I think that costuming goes into that, to build to that world building. So I'm giving it to Mad Max, and I know there's like Carol, there's Revenant, there's Danish Girl, there's ones that are all historical period pieces that Hollywood seems
That
to
Hollywood loves, and that's the ones that win the costume.
Yes, but there's 3 of them up this year, which means...
means that Danish Girl is going to win.
Why?
It's very clear.
Okay, really?
Really, I mean, it's basically total consensus among critics. Everybody goes, yeah, Danish Girl. If you see the costumes, you just like, yeah, okay, that's the one.
That just feels so... And that's why people don't watch the Oscars as much anymore, is because there's
because Danish Girl wins for costume design?
Because that's...
Great costumes.
That's boring to me. I'm like, okay, I was thankful when the Lord of the Rings Return of the King won for best costume, because yes, that made sense to me. And again, world building. You have whole intricate costumes that are commissioned to make this place feel real, like a place you could go visit. If only you had a time machine and a parallel universe generator, you could go there.
See, but that's the problem, is you need parallel universe generator.
Yeah, and
they're making it up whole cloth, trying to do costume design in a world that's real. We know what that's supposed to look like.
I know, but I guess I'm going with they split the vote sort of thing, and that Mad Max wins it. Because you have 3 ones up there that have that historical feel.
And Danish Girl wins.
I just don't see it.
It's just going to happen.
I'm hoping it doesn't happen. Mad Max deserves a lot. Anyway, I guess we'll move on to Best Production Design, which also is a Mad Max pick for me because, again, world building. You've got the cars. You've got this sort of, like, I guess you'd call it Immortan Joe's lair. Mm-hmm. You've got the hub where they torture Max at the beginning of the film. And then you've got the inside of the cars, which themselves have to, like, those have to look, I don't want to say on point, but they have to be a world in themselves because the entire movie is like this car chase. So you have to have those have a bit of personality as well. So that's why I'm giving it to Mad Max, but I'm sure you're going to pick Danish Girl again, or maybe The Martian. The Martian was another possible choice because you have Mad Max, sorry, whatever, Matt Damon carrying a film in like a pup tent of sorts.
Yeah, man, yeah, definitely. Martian, strong contender. But you're exactly right. Production design is the one where you win for world building. They created an entire world, believable, fantasy, future world. Mad Max wins.
Oh, okay. Hey, finally you're thinking the right way. My way. So then I guess that leaves us to move on to film editing, which sadly I did not give to Mad Max. And I said Revenant because I think this is where Revenant starts to pick up steam and starts to sweep. That's just my guess. I would like to give it to Mad Max or even Star Wars. I really want to give it to Star Wars, truthfully. But I as much as I prefer Star Wars over this, I think this is just going to go to Revenant because there's a lot of buzz about it being possibly Best Picture.
Yeah, I mean, certainly the buzz is there about that. Big Short, obviously, is going to win.
Oh, but, really? Sorry.
Well, Big Short has a good following to it.
Yeah.
It's not acclaimed enough to get big awards, but it's kind of enough people like it that they want to see it win something.
Okay, so it's like, here's your
So-
gold watch.
Yeah, it's I think that Big Short for editing. I think like from what I've heard, like obviously we haven't seen hardly any of these.
So
But from what I understand, the way that it's put together is actually really good, intercutting between the different people and things, and actually good performances from Christian Bale and others, Steve Carell. That I think it's got enough that it'll take it.
Okay. See, I get that. I get how good film editing can make it so that story has a more cohesive feel, and that it kind of gives it
And difficult to do with
snazz and
a
pop.
big story like that. To make it, kind of
it helps to
together
make
well.
it engaging too.
Yeah.
A well-edited film can make the film that much more engaging and that much more investment get pulled from the audience so that they are interested in what happens next rather than checking their watches, but yeah, that's why I'd prefer it to go to Star Wars. It's just like it moves the movie along, so to
It
speak.
does.
And-
Films are made in the editing room, as they say.
yes.
It's probably the most important award of the night, and I'm not just saying that because I'm an editor.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think that's just because we've had experience doing this kind of thing, but we know how ridiculous a film can be or fall apart. Or if you ever watch, or if you're a fan of the Plinkett movie reviews, you've got this whole extensive thing where he goes back and talks about how in film editing, the original Phantom Menace, that there were large chunks of the movie. When they got to the end of watching it, they realized they couldn't edit out a bunch of stuff because they had interweaved so much in the story
Yeah.
that even though they wanted to, they desperately wanted to cut stuff, or at least that's the feel you get from watching the
Yeah.
behind the scenes. They couldn't. They couldn't
Yeah.
do it without eliminating major plot points that they had written. So you had a mess. And that's why some of the editing for the original Star Wars, not original, sorry, I'm sorry, that was accidental blasphemy, for the Star Wars prequels was kind of a mess
Yeah.
because they couldn't get rid of stuff. And yeah, I would say it is one of the most important awards of the night because it helps make the film. But something else that helps make the film, that's cinematography. So for best cinematography, I picked The Revenant. I almost picked Hateful Eight, because there are some of those fantastic mountain shots sweeping through, and you've got horses riding in the snow, and for crying out loud, he filmed some of it in 70mm.
Right.
But as stated before, there was a lot of wastefulness in the film. They spent a lot of time in this mountain cabin, not enough with those nice sweeping shots. Too much confined time if you're going to use that film format, for my tastes at
Right.
least. I would have liked to have used... I would have liked to have used, but Tarantino was holding the camera. The jerk. No, I personally would have made more use of those outdoor shots and The Revenant. I mean, you see trailer after trailer of him wandering through the wilderness and
Yeah.
all that. And I don't know. I mean, I almost could say even Mad Max could do that because they had these sweeping dune mazes. But typically it goes to the
More realistic.
more realistic film as opposed to the fantasy films. So
Yeah.
I would pick Revenant, and that's why. Just having seen them.
Yeah, and for the reasons that you stated, Revenant is probably going to take it. I think that kind of Tarantino angling for at least the cinematography award on this one, like he was really trying to make that sweeping epic, and really, maybe, but Revenant. I think the Revenant's kind of got enough buzz behind it, and
Yeah.
enough people are still saying that, well, it wasn't that bad. So, I think that enthusiasm for it has waned fairly quickly, oddly enough.
For The Revenant?
For Revenant, people were really hot on it early on, but I think they were still hot on it when the Academy Award nominations were, when people were making their picks. So, I think Revenant probably take it.
Okay. Yeah, and you're saying how Tarantino is obviously kind of angling for at least that kind of award with the 70mm for the cinematography, but the problem is as much as you might have an appreciation for a form, you might not how to execute it.
Yeah.
Which it's I mean, like, one of his bread and butter things is you're sitting in that stock room with characters having these interesting exchanges.
Yeah.
And as much as it was awesome again to see horses galloping through the snow, he goes back to his, what's tried and true kind of form, which is I've got interesting characters interacting
Right.
in a
And
closed
that's what
setting.
we really want to see from a Tarantino
Well,
film.
that's what you want to see.
Like,
That's what
we
you
don't
expect.
need big production budgets from you, Tarantino. I mean,
No,
come on.
it's like you don't need to send that, and we appreciate what you were trying to do there with the 70 millimeter, and I really appreciate what you're trying to do for film. Like film,
I see what you did there.
film is a physical media, yes, but sadly not Revenant all the way from both of us. Apparently, very much in
Yeah.
agreement on this. So, and there you have it for those categories. Tune in next time, or rather next segment, to hear more. And we're back. Well, we're still here, at least. And with this next slew of movies comes a little bit of politicalness. That's where I had to base a lot of these, seeing as I didn't see any of these, including animated feature. So with that, we'll just list off the next slew of films we're going to be guessing what will win Oscars. Got Best Documentary, Short Subject, Best Documentary Feature, Best Foreign Language Film, and Best Animated Feature. So you see we're kind of slipping here into the, I want to say slipping, but moving along into the categories that more people are kind of interested in.
Right.
As much as we love film editing and the sound and special effects, let's face it, there's like, you start to get into, I'm betting most people think there's only like 10 Academy Awards and not
Right.
like 24, so that's probably why they have declining viewership. And once people realize there's 24 different categories, this isn't even including the technical awards, which they don't broadcast.
Right. Which I kind of wish they would. I kind of like to watch
I would
those.
love to watch the technical awards, but I think that's because we're both former theater junkies, so we're
Right.
just kind of like, ooh, how do they, like, what kind of splicer did they use? Or maybe
Yeah.
not that technical, but But there are innovations that come along that we'd love to hear more about, but it is what it is. So what we're going to start covering right off with this segment is Best Documentary Short Subject. And as I said, forewarning, this is a little bit more political because I don't know much other than the synopses.
Right.
And my time is valuable to me. I'm not going to waste it watching movies that I have no interest in seeing, I'm sorry to say. If I have a little bit of interest, even a little peak interest, like I haven't seen Revenant, but I'm still kind of curious.
Yeah.
So, anyway, Best Documentary Short Subject, I picked Last Day of Freedom, which, okay, let's just cut to the chase. It felt, at this point, because of the famous Black Lives Matter
Oscars So
and
White.
Oscars So White and all that, you kind of figure that the nominations came out. And there was a whole lot of backlash. They changed the way voters are allowed to vote now. You have to have
Yeah.
starred in a certain film, not a certain film. You have to have starred in a film that recently came out, and you have to have been a member for X many years prior or whatnot, in an effort
Yeah.
to, I don't know, to try to update the voting block.
Right.
So, I think as part of that backlash, you're going to see a lot of films that weren't probably even on people's radar. Like, oh, that has black people in it. Let's pick that. And I'm not trying to be mean here. I'm just saying that you get this sense of like panicked like what is it called? Backpedaling and cover our buttsness from the Academy following the
Well,
the
certainly
Oscars.
from the Academy. I don't know so much from the members, though.
Maybe not. Well, in any case, I picked it because it's this story about a guy who is on death row or something like that. No, it's not on death row. I remember now. The story is that like this guy who killed somebody went to hide out with friends or whatnot, his brother,
Yeah.
basically, and they're all racially African American, and like the guy is really torn over whether or not to report that he's hiding his brother. He eventually does because it's not the right thing to do, and it sounded like an interesting, compelling little mini drama. But there were other ones that sounded just as compelling, but that's my guess because of recent politicalness. And honestly, I almost picked A Girl in the River, The Price of Forgiveness, because of the colon. Because
Colon's help.
As any college graduate or college student will tell you, that pretentious colon right in the middle to divide the fact that you have two titles in your
Yeah.
essay. For some reason, it has a mystical quality to it. We see it as
Yeah, it
like
does.
ancient wizard ruins. Why, that has mystical powers there. Look at the colon separating the two titles. Anyway.
Right. So, and going on that theme, I picked the other one that has a colon. Claude Losman, Spectres of the Shoah.
Okay.
Well, for one, it's about making a movie.
Yeah.
It's about making a Holocaust movie
Okay, Holocaust film, yeah.
that should have won an Academy Award, but that it was 9 hours long. And I think
Not
that
the Oscars, by the way.
in retrospect, the Academy feels bad about not awarding it something.
Okay.
And I think the story of the making of it is actually going to move a lot of the Academy voters. And so I think Spectres of the Shoah is going to win.
Okay. See, and you picked one that had a colon. I almost did. There's something about it. But I can see, too, if a Holocaust film or a film about a Holocaust film where people were...
Yeah, it's a film about a Holocaust film. It's so meta.
It's so meta. Yeah, that does feel like it. Okay. Yeah, we get
It's like tailor-made for Academy
I was
audiences.
gonna say, gosh, it couldn't be more Oscar baity.
I know.
Okay, you've got me there. It does have it's got a semicolon, that pretentious little semicolon. It's about the Holocaust. It's a film about a film. My goodness.
Yeah.
Okay, I can see that, but I'd still be going with the Last Day of Freedom.
All right.
A very human tale. So. Best documentary feature. This actually might be one that some people are interested in. So I actually picked What Happened, Miss Simone. That's about a singer-songwriter activist. And I feel like it'll win because, again...
It's Nina Simone, right?
Yep. Oscar's so white, and it has an activist, and it has a performer, which kind of is their crowd.
Like one of the greatest of all time, really.
Yeah, so you've got that human element.
Yeah.
that helps it, and a famous performer who's also an activist who, again, Oscar's so white, blah, blah, blah. I almost picked Winter's on Fire, Ukraine's Fight for Freedom. It has the 1-2 punch of the pretentious : break up the fact it has 2 titles, and it's about people bravely becoming part of the European Union, which I don't know. I won't go into too much European Union, whatever, because we're talking Oscars here, but it's just, Ukraine has been on people's minds again lately in the news,
Yeah.
and it's got the colon.
Yeah, the colon. Colon always helps.
It does. We joke, but truthfully, there is something about it that just seems to add weight for whatever reason to people's minds. So there's just so much story to tell. We had to put two titles.
2 titles on it.
You know.
I'm going exactly the opposite direction on this one.
Oh, really? This should be interesting.
I'm going with the shortest title of anything nominated.
Amy.
Amy.
Yeah, 3 letters. 1
3
word.
letters. You only get 3 letters.
Okay.
Amy's gotten nominated. Amy's won so many awards. It's really just the crushing story of Amy Winehouse and her just descent is apparently very moving. One that I want to see. I think that Amy Winehouse was an incredible,
Musician, performer, singer.
performer. It just that you could see toward the end, even just watching, documentary footage or even footage on the news at the time of her just slowly falling apart. And I can't imagine that a documentary about it wouldn't be awesome. Plus, it's won so many awards. And I think everybody kind of was just so shocked by her passing that you kind of go, hey, yeah.
I'm sorry to say that Amy Winehouse is passing.
You weren't shocked?
I was shocked at David Bowie despite his age, and I was not shocked at Amy at Winehouse, probably because of all the reasons why you listed what the documentary has kind of won accolades, because seeing this
Because you can see it coming, because you can, like, watch it happen.
because you're seeing this young person slowly descend into self-destruction, and it's yeah, you know that they're going to flame out, and it's not in a I'm going to rehab and come out a better person for it sort of way. And it's, yeah, so, okay, I can see that. I'm leaning a little more towards the political thing, but I would say, yeah, Amy would probably be a good secondary, at least in my mind, it'd be a dark horse, like, that it should.
Oh, no, Amy's totally gonna take it.
Alrighty. Well, then, let's move on to Best Foreign Language Film, which should go every year to Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, because that's one of the best foreign language films I've ever seen, or anything that, Dragon Dynasty ever puts out, but unfortunately there don't seem to be that many kung fu movies up this year. Instead, there's Embrace of the Serpent, which I picked entirely because it seems to be sort of one of these, have an indictment of the Western culture and the way it affected this other culture. So it's basically, it shows this, I guess you would say, this group of indigenous people in a certain area that were affected by Westerners passing through. That's your short synopsis. You can look at the Academy site for full on, or you can go watch the movie, but I'm just, again, politics, like all of the foreign language films seem to have like some sort of heavy-handed political theme to it.
As they tend to.
As they tend to.
You know, like, pretty much every year you get like the political ones getting nominated, and you know.
Which made it harder, but I went for Embrace of Serpent. Almost picked Son of Saul, because of the reason you're going to pick it as the best.
Which is the reason that I'm picking it, yeah.
I knew
Son of Saul, well, and you know, it's pretty much the consensus at this point. Like, basically everyone has agreed that Son of Saul is going to win it, so far from for me to buck the trend and say, no, not going to win. Basically,
it's a Holocaust movie.
Yeah, it's going to win.
Yeah, it's a Holocaust movie. It's because of that, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, they tend to win.
They tend to win. You know, and as well they should. Let's remember our history. But let's be truthful. Yeah, it's those tend to win. Might be going out on them with Embrace of the Serpent, but you know, I almost want to go to Son of Saul just because of what you're saying, but at the same time, Embrace of the Serpent. Gosh, no, thinking back to my earlier reasoning for why costuming should go to Mad Max because of all the other films eliminating each other.
Yeah,
in a bloody duel to the death that is the Academy Awards. That should go to Son of Saul, but...
Yeah, but it's Son of Saul.
Alright, fine, you changed my mind. You're on the spot, you've got it. Son of Saul, and not because I've heard any buzz, but because I'm going to use my own reasoning from earlier that there'll be kind of this cross-elimination, even though Embrace of Serpent and Mustang and Thebe and A War all have these like kind of anti-West themes.
That really, from what I've read, Mustang is probably the only other one that might come out with it. But Son of Saul, pretty much everybody says.
Son of Saul. But not for your reasons. So then that leaves us with one that I think would pique a lot of people's interest, even though it's probably a foregone conclusion. That would be Best Animated Feature. And I just went with Inside Out because it's the safe choice and because a lot of people are saying, thank goodness, Pixar, you're back. You kind of fell off for a little bit there with Cars sequels and Brave and other whatnot. But
I liked Brave.
I know, our sisters did not. But and so did a lot of people, to be truthful. A lot of people did not like Brave. But Inside Out, I from what I've seen, I have not seen the whole movie, but is returned to form for them. That heartfelt kind of, wow, you made this real to me and touched on incredible deep emotions and a real weight and quality to it. And it was an animated feature with goofy little characters inside of people's head.
Right.
Which, you know, and you look at Up, which came out a while ago now, which, you know, some ridiculous movie about a guy floating around in a house with balloons, but by golly, does it tug at the heartstrings? And they're talking dogs, and it still has a lot of emotional weight.
It does. Man, I cried.
Yeah,
I cried like a little baby.
Yeah, but I guess Inside Out has those same kind of moments. Is where you're just like,
yes,
wow.
And I was going to have spoilers, because I figured that you'd watched it like 20 times at this point.
No.
Like, no, nobody can watch that scene because you cry like a little baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a return to making you cry like a little baby.
Yeah. Which is really, a good wheelhouse for Pixar because good animation should, well, maybe not necessarily always make you cry, but it should pull at your heartstrings in a non-artificial way. Like, and the mother's dead again in this particular film, but I want to say in the cheap way.
Right.
But in a way that you could relate to. Now, my mom wasn't gunned down by an evil hunter person, so
It's like, I just can't relate to that.
I can't relate to that.
But yeah, Inside Out.
Inside Out all the way.
Inside Out, I think, all the way, yeah. I don't think it's got even competition in this category.
I briefly thought that when Marnie was there, because it's kind of this it's anime, it's got this interesting story kind of going there, but Inside Out, the more you think about it, it's Inside Out. It's that simple, but we'll be moving on to some more categories here in a moment that, we'll just call them the Big Eight, because really they're the ones that I think when people think that the Academy Awards exist, they only think there's like 8 or 10 categories.
Right.
That's what we're saying, so we'll get on to those in a moment. Okay. So here we are now down to the Hateful Eight, or rather the 8 categories that people probably turn to most when they're looking up the Academy Award winners, because it seems that nobody tunes in these days. You just open up your newspaper, or rather log on online and see what won. But it is what it is, so we're going to plow into the next 4 categories that we're going to cover here in our Oscar special. And those would be Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Original Screenplay, Best Supporting Actress, and Best Supporting Actor. So, Best Adapted Screenplay, I feel like it's just going to be The Martian. I mean, I don't think that it has a shot at other categories, to be truthful. Even though people said it was good and enjoyable, it's almost too safe as a film because it's heroic and blah 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 blah.
Right, yeah, it's too easy a pick. You can't go that far. It's got to be Big Short.
No, I was going to say, like, this is the only award it's going to win of the night is Best Adapted Screenplay.
No, it's not going to get it.
Really? Why? Okay, so I feel like it'll go to the Martian.
It got a lot of love, like, popularly.
Yeah.
But I think Big Short, it's got, the whole financial crisis aspect to it, which kind of gives you something there. Plus, from everything that I've seen, just really well-written story that, really, they cast great actors to say the words, which really helps.
Yeah.
So, I think that, with great actors saying, a good story, I think you got it. I think Big Short takes it.
Yeah, see, here's the problem, is I always forget that it's the Academy people voting, and it's not the people. Not always, but sometimes you forget yourself. I still would go with The Martian as a safe pick. Big Short, I honestly think... Again, we're getting somewhat political here. I think the political spin... I mean, this is why Big Short didn't do too well at the box office, but The Martian did, is that people were affected by the financial crisis, but I think everybody has their own little take on it, and you kind of know what to expect from a Hollywood take on, the financial crisis, so that bores people, and there's so much... I don't want to say enjoyment.
Nothing about it bores me. Like, I have read so many books on it.
That's because you enjoy nonfiction. I think people enjoy fiction more, and I think that adapted screenplay, it's the human element, really. I just would give it to The Martian here because I think it's the only one. But you think Big Short, I think Martian.
I'd say Big Short.
I'm willing to bet, though, on Best Original Screenplay. We're going to be both in agreement here with Straight Outta Compton.
I really wish that it would win, but it's not going to.
Oh, really? Best Original Screenplay, not Straight Outta Compton? They're not going to give it the...
Give the Oscar So White vote? No.
Well, it's not just that. I also think of it as the... no, actually, everybody's...
The Citizen Kane Award?
I always thought of it as the Citizen Kane Award. Yeah.
Yeah, and I...
Between Oscar So White and Citizen Kane.
It stands a chance. I'll grant you that. But... I think Spotlight's going to take it in the end.
God, really?
I do. I really want Straight Outta Compton. I'm not going to be mad if Straight Outta Compton wins. I loved that movie, but no, I think Spotlight's going to win.
God, why?
Oh, it's about the Catholic Church abusing kids.
Yeah. It's like it's the political aspect again.
The political aspect again. Plus, I've heard it's a very good movie. So,
yeah.
it's got a lot of love. So, I think that probably it's going to take it.
Okay, so Best Supporting Actress then. I gave it to... Okay, and we're moving into these categories where there is less and less that I've seen. And just to be frank, I'm going at least off of what I've read. I'm giving it to Rooney Mara for Carol, just because she plays opposite Cate Blanchett as, I believe, her secret lover back in the 40s, 50s, whatever this
Right.
period piece is set. And I don't know. I just assume that it's going to go there because I haven't heard a whole lot of good things about Kate Winslet in Steve Jobs' movie. Jennifer Jason Leigh was okay in Hateful Eight, but honestly, like, I don't remember how much she said or did on screen, so her character to me was forgettable. No offense there. Spotlight, I'm sorry, Rachel McAdams, but just never grabs me. And Alicia Vikander, Danish Girl, yeah, maybe not. But I think that Rooney Mara for Carol is just like, it's a safe. I'm going one saying that's a good politically left thing, and two, it's a safe one where there's, from what I've heard, buzz-wise, like a good quote-unquote safe performance there where, like, okay, it was a solid head nod.
Solid performance. And Rooney Mara, of course, excellent so much. But really, it's basically a horse race between Kate Winslet and Alicia Vikander.
Really?
Yeah.
I see.
Really, I mean, between the two of them, they've been taking the awards. A lot of acclaim, and people like people almost thinking. I mean, I know it's weird because Winslet's so young, but she's done so many great movies, and we should really give her something. But Vikander's kind of like the up and coming.
Yeah.
And so, I think Vikander is actually going to take it.
Okay, I'm going with the what I think is the safe choice, and I could see that given Danish Girl is about transgenderism stuff.
Yeah,
and that's another one of those safe things. Plus, I don't think Eddie Raymond has a shot, but we'll get into that when we get to that category.
Yeah.
So, I guess that moves us on to Best Supporting Actor, and again, going off of politics, I really want Sly Stallone to win. I want Sly to win. He should win. But I think it's going to go to Mark Ruffalo because I'll just lay it on the line. I know that Hollywood has never been favorable towards Christians, Catholics, or anybody kind of leaning that way. So Mark Ruffalo will get it. And plus, Mark Ruffalo ruffles have ridges. He's a decent actor, so it's just politics combined with you have a good actor. I think it should go to Sly Stallone. I think Sly is a great actor. I think that Creed, which I really desperately want to see, is probably a great movie, and a lot of people have gushed about how good it is. I think Creed should have been up for way more awards than this, but I think it's going to go to Mark. Mr. Ruffalo.
Yeah, Jason Mitchell should have gotten nominated for Straight Outta Compton. I'm just going to say that.
And
I'm not saying he should have won. I'm saying he should have at least got nominated.
And the guy who played Creed's son should have gotten nominated too, from what I hear. That's just weird.
Yeah, weird that Sly got nominated and he didn't.
Yeah.
But, much as I love Mark Ruffalo, and I do, and I think that he plays a great Bruce Banner.
Yes.
Like, I was a little skeptical at first, because he's like boy next door kind of dude. But he plays it really, like, subdued. And plays Bruce Banner, just exactly kind of the way that I expect him. Like,
and that's probably what I'm basing off of. Is he plays Bruce Banner the way that I would want him to be played?
Right, he's the puny human.
Yeah,
he's like kind of this little meek, like kind of. If I was Hulk, I'd want to smash him.
Yeah,
It's just kind of perfect. And so, yes, much as I love Ruffalo, and who else do we have here? Bale. Even just the clips I've seen of Bale in Big Short, he seems very good in that. Mark Rylance, I haven't seen much of him. Bridge of Spies. Tom Hardy, always excellent. Loved him as Bane.
Yep.
And of course, Sylvester Stallone, who's going to win it.
You really think they'll give it to Sly?
Sly won it. Sly's going to win it. I mean, he won the Golden Globe, and it's one of the very few categories that the Golden Globe is a good predictor on.
Oh, really?
So
I'll change it then, because I would have gone all political on this, but I want Sly to win, so I'll pick Sly.
He's got this epic career, and he is Rocky, and he's playing Rocky again. And you know what? Even like Rocky Balboa, he was so good at.
Yes.
You go back to, now granted, got a little cheesy in the middle, but if you go the first couple of Rocky movies, you go Rocky Balboa, or even the hundreds of other films he's done, Oscar,
yeah.
Stop or My Mom Will Shoot. He's actually turns out he's a pretty good actor. Alan Smithy Presents Burn Hollywood Burn. She's hilarious in. So really, I think that it's almost again one of the Lifetime Achievement Awards.
Okay,
but actually, I've heard that he
so,
gives a really great performance in it, and I like you just want to see this movie. But yeah, I think it's going to be really.
Okay,
good.
then
I think he's going to win.
I'm switching it then. I want Sly to win, and I almost picked him. And hearing you say that it's almost another Lifetime Achievement Award-ish moment for him, I would go with that because, yeah, first couple of Rocky films for sure, and the Rocky Balboa.
Yeah, he was so good in Rocky Balboa.
Rocky Balboa, not one of the stronger films. He was still so good in that. That makes it a great film. So there you have it. Another change on the spot, but it's a smart change. Yeah, Sly Stallone for Creed, and that's Best Actor, Best Supporting Actor, Best Supporting Actress, Best Original Screenplay, and Best Adapted Screenplay. So that moves us along to the Big Four. Yes, those ones that, pretty much help define what the Academy Awards are. So let's move to it. And here we are now at the final four. No, it's not March Madness. It's the last four categories of the Academy Awards. And these are the big ones, folks. The ones that people typically tune in for right there to hear, to see what glorious things or horrible misfires, that is, have happened. So,
and there have been many.
There have been
many over the years.
Many. So let's start things off.
When was the last time you watched Titanic? Come on, be honest.
Yeah, really, no kidding.
Shakespeare in Love, seen that lately?
Nope.
And everybody was saying that Saving Private Ryan should have won that year. Have you seen that one lately?
Nope. Same with English Patient. It was one of those
English Patient. Oh,
it's like everybody looked back and what have we done? We basically gave it to a movie about a guy who sells out to the Nazis?
With the most horrible effects ever. Anyway.
Yes. So, with that said, let's go on to Best Actress, which you've got Cate Blanchett up for Carol, Brie Larson for Room, Jennifer Lawrence for Joy, J-Law, Charlotte Rampling for 45 Years, and Saoirse Ronan for Brooklyn. I picked Cate Blanchett for Carol because Cate Blanchett, again, safe pick. I almost picked Brie Larson for Room because the story sounded interesting, and to make that performance Oscar-worthy, or at least what I think should be a top 5 Oscar-nominated person, has to be something of some merit. But I'll go with Cate Blanchett because she's a good, solid actress, and I believe she probably pulled off whatever role she had in Carol, which obviously was the leading actress. But that's my take on it. Is that
she might have even been Carol.
She might have even been Carol for all I know. This is how disconnected I am. And yeah, really. But truthfully, that's just what I'm going with, because also semi-politics, it's about two young women in love. Well, Cate Blanchett isn't that young anymore. Two women in love and period piece, politics. Not only that, but Cate Blanchett is an okay actress, so yeah.
okay actress.
Yeah.
She's incredible. I totally agree with you. Cate Blanchett is an incredible actress.
But-
Unfortunately, Brie Larson's going to win.
You think Brie Larson over her?
Yeah, well, unfortunately for Cate Blanchett,
Yeah.
she's going to win. Not unfortunately for
Brie Larson.
For Brie
Yeah.
Larson.
I'm sorry,
Or for
but
the category.
here's your
apparently,
award.
incredible performance. Apparently, the chemistry between her and the little boy who plays her son is incredible. They've basically been winning all of the awards. It's, Brie Larson's gonna take it.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't got much more to say than that. Yeah.
I mean,
Brie
I
Larson's
can
gonna
buy it. I'm just going with Cate Blanchett because of period piece.
Because of past this prologue.
Passes prologue. Yeah. So I guess that moves us on to Best Actor. And this is kind of a stuffed field with people that you kind of want to see win awards. Like, you've got Bryan Cranston for Trumbo. You've got Matt Damon. Well, maybe not all of them want to win. For the Martian.
Matt Damon.
Yeah. Leo DiCaprio. Okay, maybe not him either. I don't know. For The Revenant. Michael Fassbender for Steve Jobs as Steve Jobs. And Eddie Redmayne as the Danish Girl. I'm sorry, Eddie's not going to get it because he already won last year for, I guess, what was truly award-winning performance for being Stephen Hawking.
Yeah.
And if memory serves me correctly, traditionally people don't win twice in a row, and when they do, it's like 2 and done.
Yeah.
And politics aside,
Yeah, nobody's ever won 3 in a row.
Nobody's ever won 3 in a row, and even though this is like a whole transgendered film, I don't think it's going to win, even though that's like kind of a political hobby horse right now. I think that it's going to go to DiCaprio because of early buzz, and because, as you had mentioned in a prior segment, that there was, when it first came out, all this kind of hot buzz surrounding it, where people
Right.
are really into it, and it's kind of tapered off. But that was, right around when the awards came out and the nominees were out. People are, The Revenant, The Revenant, The Revenant.
Right.
So I think he probably rode that wave in. Matt Damon, I'm sure he was fine. Bryan Cranston is always great.
Yeah,
But
he's probably one of the greatest living actors.
yeah, not short of J.K. Simmons.
Well, right, not. He's no J.K. Simmons, but...
No. But DiCaprio, I think that it's going to be one of those finally. I think we've said it so many times, it almost feels like it's the Gold Watch Award,
Right.
Academy Awards.
It is.
Because I would say that just because he's been, I don't know if he's been up that many times. I know he's won Golden Globes several times.
Yeah, a few Golden Globes.
But either A, he's just fallen short of getting nominated for Best Actor, or B, he's been up but somebody else has won.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And your pick is?
Well, obviously, it's Leo. And Leonardo DiCaprio is going to win. It's, again, a Lifetime Achievement Award.
Really?
Yeah,
We're both
I
going
think
with
that
that,
people are
yeah.
going with... He's had so many great performances, and he was pretty good in this one. And so I think that, he's won everything. It's just kind of foregone conclusion at this point that he's going to win. I think that Bryan Cranston should win. Like I said, one of the greatest living actors. He's just incredible to me, and from everything I've seen from his performance as Trumbo, and the fact that it's about the blacklist.
It's about the
really
blacklist.
should.
It's a Hollywood movie about Hollywood. And
About Douglas Trumbo and
when you're talking about Academy Award films and Academy Award nominees, it's all
you
about
can't-
self-love.
you can't get more Oscar baity.
Yeah.
But really, it's Leo's gonna win.
Yeah,
Not gonna break my heart if Bryan Cranston upsets it, but
yeah.
I don't think that there's anybody close to him.
No, and I
And
heard
for the
the
reasons
premise.
you mentioned, like Eddie Redmayne should, by all rights, playing a man who is transgender would be, okay.
I can't see, the only one on this list I can't see being a really strong contender, truth is Michael Fassbender as Steve Jobs. I mean, I'm sure he did a great performance, but
Right, and from the clips I've seen, did an excellent job.
yeah, but it's one of those things though that it's just I think in some ways when you're in a category like Best Actress before, like I heard Brie Larson's performance was pretty good too, but when you're like the solid performer up against other performers.
Yeah.
And like all the other performances are like, okay, they have their good steps, their bad steps. I think the one that's the all around solid one, that's where my vote usually goes, or my expectation is the one who had the quote unquote solid performance
Right.
is going to win. And
Which, of course, has got to be Bryan Cranston.
yeah, which would you think it'd go to Bryan Cranston, but I think it would go to DiCaprio because he's grown as an actor, and it's his time, and blah 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 blah. Yeah, but Michael Fassbender, like, if the rest of the category was weak, if it was a weaker Best Actor list, I guess you would say Best Actor nom, I think that he would win. But in this, he's the
If he was up against Ashton Kutcher as Steve Jobs,
yeah. And,
I think Fassbender wins every time.
well, true, but I think that's a different category acting altogether. I'm just giving it to him, DiCaprio over the others, and more so than Fassbender because his is the safe performance. If for lack of a better way of putting it, I'd say he's the safe one, which
Right.
Eddie Raymond would be the even safer one given the hot button nature of the whatnotness, but DiCaprio. And we're both in agreement. It's DiCaprio.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that if anybody...
If it's a dark horse too, I would say Bryan Cranston because he's playing. That's Oscar baity without being too Oscar baity.
Yeah.
I mean, if he was a Holocaust survivor who was in
Well, then he
blacklisted,
definitely wins.
then he'd be winning. You just have to give it to him on principle, you know.
But yeah, I think that if there is a second, then it's Bryan Cranston. But no,
Yeah.
Leo's going to win that one. It's almost ridiculous how much he's going to win that one.
Yeah, it's like, and second runner-up, that doesn't happen. What if that even look like? You're the second runner-up Best Actor. You're like, we almost picked you. It's like even shorter speech now that they've like truncated the speech time even more.
Mm-hmm.
You hear that? Okay, yeah. Before we move on to the last two, Best Actor, Best Director, Best Picture, it goes. I think it's worth to note that they've shortened the time. They've tried to, and it's still somehow they managed to fill a 4-hour block meant for 2.
No, they block out 3 hours.
They block out 3 hours.
It's a 3-hour show that always goes over.
God. Yeah, and it's ridiculous. And they've made so many efforts, but somehow still it manages to
Right.
be 4 hours and tedious. And they've made it so now that actors and actresses, actually I think everybody, if you're up for an award, you are supposed to pre-submit a list of people you would like to thank, and they will put those like up on like they'll project them on the wall or put them like underneath the person scrolling on TV, like this person would like to thank blah 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 blah. So they have like 45 seconds where they're supposed to get up there, and I guess they don't want them like thanking too many people outright because then it ends up being a laundry list.
Right.
But they want them to get up there and say, like, this was a triumph of blah, or I am happy to have worked with these people, which still equates to a thank you. So I
Right.
don't know what you're going to say when you get up there for your 45 seconds, that'll turn into 5 minutes, that, you know.
Well, you get up there and say, Obama hates black people.
What a twist. Just like, wait, what?
I think that's what they're hoping for. For some politically charged, like somebody's going to come up there and say something interesting for once instead of just thank you to blah blah blah.
Yeah,
blah,
well,
blah, blah.
I don't know. I like the thank yous. I think that the best thank you or whatever speech that wasn't just a thank you was J.K. Simmons.
Yeah.
It's like, get up there, call your parents, don't text them, don't
Yeah.
write them, call your parents. And it's like a sort of a, if you want to say it, it was a thank you to his parents, but at the same time, it was a very,
And a really genuine moment.
it was
really.
a genuine moment. And that's just incredible. So, well, then we'll get on to the last two categories: Best Picture, Best Director. So here we are in the last two categories. The big uns be Best Director, Best Picture. Best Director, my pick is straight up going to be a butchering of the person's name, but I'll say it's going to be Alejandro G. Inarritu? I'm so sorry. Inarritu for The Revenant, because
It's not hard to say. Inarritu.
Alejandro Inarritu.
I guess you should probably trill that R a little bit.
Yes.
Inarritu.
Erratu. But name butchering aside, I'm betting he wins it for The Revenant because it's got all the buzz and whatnot behind it. I wish it would go to George Miller for Mad Max Fury Road, but alas, the Academy never seems to know how to pick ones that are popular in culture, so they always go with the weird ones, the left-leaning ones, which almost made me think Spotlight, but The Revenant because it's just, man versus wilderness kind of story.
Right.
It's really about the human element.
Really the human element.
The human element that makes it what it is. It just, I think it's going to win because it has the sort of, I guess you would say, the wave of support behind it,
Right.
or expectation. Kind of the way that, gosh, I still am pissed off about Michael Keaton not winning for Birdman,
Right.
because it took the other ones. And it was like a foregone conclusion for Best Picture and Best Director, which it won.
Yeah.
But it didn't get Best Actor, which it should have. But old bitterances aside, Alejandro for The Revenant, I should say.
Revenant. See, nobody even knows what the name of that movie is.
I misspell it on
The
a regular
Reverend?
basis. The Reverend? What? It's a movie about the priesthood? No, it's The Revenant.
No, that's Spotlight.
That's fine. Oh, okay, yes. So, what is your pick?
Man, I was so close to going with Inarritu.
Really? Okay.
I was. It's kind of, Revenant's got the buzz. And for all the reasons you said.
Yeah.
But I think that really the Academy is upset that they never gave the award to the director of Babe.
Really?
Never even nominated the director of the original Mad Max. George Miller is going to win.
You're kidding. Oh, I was waiting for you to say, which is why George Miller's not going to win again, and it's going to go to... No, so you really think...
George Miller is going to win it.
You really think
Yes,
he'll win it?
I sincerely believe that George Miller's going to win it.
Okay.
I don't think that they'll give it to Inarritu.
Really?
Yeah. I was close on it. I'm not gonna lie. I think that it is kind of close race, but I think George Miller wins it. I think George Miller. It's again the Gold Watch Award, but he did a great movie that everybody loved. It got nominated for a bunch of awards, so obviously the Academy loves it.
Okay.
And George Miller, yeah,
Okay.
George Miller takes it.
See, he's on my dark horse. I wish this would win. Maybe it'll win list. But I went with the safe choice. And when it gets down to these last ones, I really want to go.
I don't think they'll give it to Inarritu again.
Really?
They won't give it to Inarritu again because they haven't given it to George Miller.
Okay.
And it's his turn. He
Yes.
deserves it. It's his first nomination,
Really?
for goodness sake. George Miller, for goodness sake. You're okay, fine. Yeah, we nominated him so that we could give it to him.
Really? Maybe.
That's the way I see it.
Okay.
I may be wrong come election day, but
I sincerely hope you're right. I'm just gonna stick with the Revenant, but I want it to be Mad Max. I really do. Who knows? Maybe
still
come
sticking with it after that impassioned plea.
after that impassioned plea. I really want George Miller to win it. I'll wait until the last day and follow our Twitter accounts, people, because we'll be live tweeting the Oscars. I might have a change of heart over the coming weeks,
Okay.
but leading up to the Oscars. But I'm really,
After you see George Miller win all of the other awards,
if I have this feeling like if they win, they aren't nominated for any of the big ones, which I really think that
they're nominated for Best Picture.
they're nominated for Best Picture, but they aren't nominated for like Best Actress or Best Supporting Actress or Actor. I would have nominated Charlize Theron for Best Supporting Actress in a heartbeat,
Best Actor.
Or Best
She was
Actress.
the star of that film.
or Best Actress because she
Best
was pretty
Actress.
much she was pretty much the star.
Yeah, it wasn't Mad Max. It was her.
It was her. But I would still, yeah. I if I would have seen that, I would have preferred that. Who knows? Maybe I'll have a change of heart. I'm just going with the safe bet because I feel like it's sort of like, wow, you pulled an Academy Award nominee worthy performance out of DiCaprio. This deserves a nomination at the very least. But
I don't see it given to him because he's already won. So now we've got to give it to somebody else.
Maybe.
And we got to give it to George Miller, for God's sakes.
It could be wise that he might pass before we have enough time to acknowledge that he wins, or acknowledge that he was a good director.
Well, I think he's got another good 20 years in him, but and he wants to do a nice little safe,
I thought David Bowie had
independent
another
film
200.
before he does. David Bowie's Living on Mars.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I don't see it.
Okay. Well, I guess then that moves us on to Best Picture. Fake drum roll, please. And my pick is no shock, The Revenant. Yes. For all the reasons before, the tidal wave, the general buzz surrounding it, the bare CGI. Maybe it won't win some of the other awards, but I think just as a whole, I think that even prior to the award nominees coming out, and before it even had buzz behind it, there was sort of that feel that it wasn't Oscar baity, but it did feel Oscar worthy.
Yeah.
In that way that you kind of get that sense from certain films where it comes out, and there's some that come out that like The Big Short or like Spotlight that feel like they feel like Oscar bait.
Yeah.
Or Trumbo, which isn't up. Hey, you know what? There's 10 possible category or 10 possible nominees. They only picked 8. They could have put Trumbo and Star Wars. Hello.
Yeah, Star Wars.
But no,
Or Straight Outta Compton.
Or Straight Outta Compton. Hello, which was expected to be nominated for more.
It was expected.
Which was expected.
Seriously, Mitchell for Best Actor. Really?
So,
Anyway,
again,
he was so good in that movie.
I don't see this again as a white. The Oscar's so white as a swing and a miss. It's like,
Yeah.
How could you miss it? It was like practically, it was in there in the Oscar baity category in a way. It's like, it's a musical drama
Yeah.
slash
Like
history.
countercultural. I mean, everything that you want.
Anyway, so I would say it goes to The Revenant for just the sheer tidal wave behind it, and it has that feel of something that you wouldn't mind. I think that I've seen a shift. At least it seems like there's been a shift lately in the way the Academy Awards are say done. Let's face it. Okay, we're talking Best Picture. We're talking the Academy Awards. The viewership has been in decline for a while now. No matter how many new hosts they throw at it, whether they throw somebody edgy, quote unquote edgy, like a knife, like a 90s goth, edgy, it just never works out. Either the person's too flat because they're going with the script, or they go off script in a way that turns off millions of viewers at home. Either that, or they're as vanilla as a vanilla bean wrapped in vanilla leaves, like Ellen DeGeneres. You're just like in a white pants.
Yeah.
You couldn't get more vanilla than that.
Yeah. Or what they had?
Billy Crystal.
Franco and Anne Hathaway.
Swing
That
and a
was
miss,
just
and a miss,
like,
and a miss.
Oh, uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable
Just
to
so
watch.
bad it was like made you squirm in your seat.
God. Yeah. I watched that.
Like I longed for Billy Crystal.
Yeah, you longed for the averageness.
Yes.
But, okay, I think that the Academy is picking films.
Or Shudder. David Letterman.
God, yeah.
I know. Sorry. I didn't mean to bring it up. Brings up painful memories.
Yeah, I know. Like, that's like very much, Vietnam flashback type montage.
Uma.
God.
Oprah.
Milking
Uma.
a joke that's already dead. It's just like, let it go, man. You're like waiting for somebody to run up on stage. Anyway.
Waiting for that streaker that came out.
Yeah, waiting for something interesting to happen. But I think I've seen the Academy move towards films that are going to stand a test of time a little bit better. Ones that people will actually pick up at the video store, if they still existed, or stream.
Yeah.
And watch again. That's something that won't be...
And you're picking Revenant?
I'm picking Revenant. I'd rather pick Mad Max Fury Road. Truthfully. Either that or...
You're picking rewatchable. Mad Max is the one.
Mad Max is the one. I own that one. Thank you very much. Saw it several times in the
And you're
theater.
supposed to bring me my copy. Where is it?
Yeah, okay, that's true. I keep forgetting. But I would almost pick if there's like 3 films I think in here that are probably rewatchable, probably ones that you would like say, okay, we're going through the Academy Awards over the years, and I'd pick The Revenant, The Martian, or Mad Max Fury Road, because those are the ones. Bridge of Spies, Brooklyn, Big Short, The Room, Spotlight. These ones are going to fade into obscurity once the
I think Big Short might have some rewatchability. It's got some great performances, from what I hear.
Great
But it's got
performances.
great actors, so I assume great performances.
It's I just don't think it has that kind of appeal. It's going to keep people picking it up and remembering and saying, "Oh yeah, this film." I think the other 3 will. And out of those 3, I went with The Revenant because it still has enough Academy-ishness, if you will,
Right.
to it.
And you already picked Inarritu.
And I already picked Inarritu, which it's gone different ways before. It has.
Fairly often, yeah.
It has fairly often. So there's that possibility. But The Martian, despite the fact that it has Matt Damon in it, our parents said they liked it, despite the fact that it had Matt Damon in it, and they don't like Matt Damon.
I love Matt Damon.
But they said that it was very watchable. And
Yeah.
I don't want to say very watchable. That sounds like damning with fate. Praise. It was watchable. Yeah,
Grazing with fate damning.
yeah, really. Anything can be watchable. You just sit there. Yep, there's a pin. I'm gonna watch that. I don't know. I'm just going with The Revenant because 1, it's a safe bet. It's a safe bet, and 2, it's something that I think will stand the test of time. Out of the 3 of them, I think all the 3 that I listed, Mad Max, Martian, and Revenant, will be the ones that people will pick up off the shelf years from now or download years from now. Whatever video format we're watching things in the future.
Right.
Those are the ones that people are going to be rewatching. The other ones, to me, are too drama-y, too Oscar baity, too I don't know, I guess you would say almost like politically / time focused, like the Big Short in a way. It has that
Right.
okay, it seems like it's well acted, but in 5-10 years, heck, even 2 years, do you think people are going to be talking about Big Short, or are they going to be picking up
Well, of
Mad
course
Max?
they are. Well, they're probably going to be watching Mad Max.
They're like, oh yeah, remember Big Short? Yeah, let's pop in Mad Max and we could talk about it while some explosions happen. But anyway, The Revenant. So what's your pick? I might have been a little wieldy in my explanation, but there it is.
Well, yeah, I think that if you're going for the safe bet, you go for Spotlight. Because Spotlight's winning all the awards. It's going to win the Best Picture award. I think strong runner-up, Revenant. I think that if there's a dark horse, it's Revenant. But, well, or maybe Big Short. Big Short might surprise everybody. Come out, pull out a Shakespeare in Love, and take it all. But no, Spotlight.
Really?
Yeah, I'm feeling
I just
Spotlight.
you'll have to give some justification because I'm just not feeling that at all. Like, out of all those there, that seems... Yeah, it's well, again, politics, so we don't
politics,
we don't
of
like
course.
Christians, so let's just stick... I don't see...
Well, we don't like priests that diddle little boys.
No, but I think that Hollywood uses any excuse they can to, like, kind of...
No,
Diss on
I think that you overstate that. Passion of the Christ was up for a whole bunch of stuff.
Not that I recall. Like, maybe in the Golden Globes or other awards, but I don't remember it being up for Best Picture, was it? Best Director?
Maybe not Best Picture.
Best Actor?
Oh, well, you're not going
Best-
to nominate Mel Gibson for Best. And Jim Caviezel's a horrible actor. Why would you nominate him for that? Anyway.
Well, there are other people too, but I'm just saying
Well,
that there's
but he was Jesus.
Okay, but I think that the Academy stays away from stuff like that, and if they had a preference, they'd rather bash on those. But like, I don't see them like giving it to Spotlight as much as it might be kind of like a little hobby horse on the side for them. I don't see that as something that's like. I don't see
Yeah,
that-
sorry.
I don't hear- I don't
Everything
hear
I've
the-
read says that Spotlight's going to take it.
Really, I just haven't heard the buzz behind it. I've heard
Yeah,
more buzz
there's-
behind not Mad Max. I wish I'd heard buzz behind Mad Max, behind Revenant, or even The Martian.
I don't think that Revenant was a good enough movie to have the Academy say Best Picture.
Really?
I don't think enough people loved it that much. And, the shine is wearing off very quickly.
Well, yeah.
And because I see that shine wearing off very quickly, I can't see them calling that one Best Picture.
Okay, well, are the votes
Although
all in,
How
or do they
Green
have
Was My
time?
Valley one. So, at the end of the day, who knows? But because of all the buzz I've seen and pretty much everybody saying Spotlight, I have to go with Spotlight because it's the safe choice for me, because that's what everybody else is saying. So I'm not going to buck the field. I'm going to say Spotlight.
Yeah, watch us both be wrong, and it's like Mad Max. And I'm like, what? I mean, that's awesome, but what?
Yeah,
But yeah,
which would be awesome. But
I would be standing up and cheering if Mad Max won. I totally would. Yeah, there would be that faint disappointment, like, oh, I didn't get it right. But believe me, in my heart of hearts, I would rather see Star Wars win. But it's not up for an award now, is it, Hollywood?
It should have been
10 possible slots, and you pick 8 films. It's just.
Yeah, so you made it 10 so that you could pick some popular films. Really?
Even though everybody acknowledges at this point that you'd be just kind of throwing a bone to the populace.
Yeah.
It's like your bone this year was Mad Max. Good choice. However, there was still room for Straight Outta Compton and Star Wars in that lineup. Now,
Yeah.
wasn't there?
Yeah, and then you wouldn't have been all Oscar so whitey on you.
Yeah, really. What a shock. Anyway, so those.
Yeah, Mitchell should have got nominated for being Easy.
Yeah. Or Finn for Best Supporting Actor. I can't remember his real name, so I'm just gonna call him Finn.
Okay.
Or maybe, I know it would have been another white guy, but I don't care. Maybe possibly Harrison Ford for Best Actor or Best Supporting Actor.
Supporting actor.
Supporting Actor, but still, freaking A. Anyway, well, as we wrap up our Oscar special here, I want to thank you for joining us, and I want to also say that it's whatever movies get picked, we hope you tune in to us on our future endeavors, and that you follow us on Twitter. That's at Jester of Roanoke, or at Devon Stone, or our joint account, or at One More Rewrite spelled out, or we also own the rights to the one with a singular number 1.
We have one with the numeral 1 and one with the ONE. We'll be tweeting from the ONE, More Rewrite,
Yeah.
for the Academy Awards. I'll be tagging mine with an L. Jester, of course, be tagging with a J. And we'll let you know what all our thoughts are. I'll be covering the pregame show.
So to speak.
And, of course, random thoughts from Jester, if he feels like it, about commenting on somebody's outfit.
Yeah.
Which he usually doesn't usually get into the fashion stuff, although
No,
I
that's
enjoy it.
that's all Lunchbox's territory. And somebody needs to fill what's her face's shoes?
Joan Rivers.
Joan Rivers' shoes for. Oh my gosh! How do you,
Although last year I didn't find much to be upset about or to love. They were all just kind of outfits.
Well,
And
last year-
I was very displeased. Didn't love anything. Didn't hate anything.
yeah, really. I mean, they get upset about Oscars so white, but really, the past years have been so vanilla that you would think
Yeah.
it's like. That's
Kind of had to see it coming.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Anyway.
I'll be starting early on in the day, commenting on the Oscar fashion as I see the arrivals, with maybe a comment or two thrown in
Yes.
by Jester. And then when the actual awards start, you'll get our views on who won, who lost,
Yeah.
and who should have won. Why didn't you give it to Mad Max?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Or the outrage, still bitter outrage over Michael Keaton not winning. He had the acceptance speech in his pocket. I want to know who he was going to thank. I want to know
Yeah.
who he was going to say thank yous to. But
Inaratu.
Interatu. But well, we don't need a script to say our thank yous to you. So thank you for joining us for our One More Rewrite Oscar podcast special. So for Lunchbox.
Join us for the live tweet.
Yay! I'm Jester.